people don't care. They don't care. Like if there's changes that happen, like if it goes from 4 to 6 to 5 to 7, nobody really cares unless you're making that change the same day.
Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I just got a text. You want to step into my text messages on my phone with me? And it just said, had my first event mastery structured event yesterday. Invited 150 people, had 50 show, received 9 referrals, plus 8 are interested in buying, selling, or investing themselves, which we call me's in the lingo. Will be giving 15 outgoing referrals. So for those mathematicians in the audience, that's 17 incoming, 15 outgoing referrals out of an event of 50 people. And best of all, donations to the local food bank filled the entire back of a large SUV. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're going to talk about, and we're going to get down deep and give you the information on how you could do an event like that as well in just a second. I've got to give a shout out real quick from Sarah at Cutco. She sent me a card that said #1 coach on the front of it. And she said, I saw this card and had to just get it for you. Had your name all over it. I beam with happiness when I learn another client of mine is now coaching with you, or I see them practicing your points. See you soon. Sarah, thank you so much for reaching out. I appreciate that. I love when a client of mine is coaching and working with you as well. And I love it when they practice our points. And that kind of leads us to our thing today is, Elizabeth was in the beginning, she was just like, well, I don't know why you're having me on. It's like, well, because you're implementing. How do you get on Referrals Podcast? Would you, the listener, would you like to be a guest on Referrals Podcast? Well, guess what? Implement, which instantly puts you in the top 1% of all people. 99% of the people listen to us every week and don't implement. But the 1% that do, you could be on Referrals Podcast, and we would love to, give you that forum, give you that venue, because here's the thing. People are inspired by implementers, and the more implementers they hear, the more they implement. That's why we don't talk about mindset a lot. We don't talk about inspiration. We're not here to fire you up. I believe the best way to fire yourself up is to implement, to take action, to be productive. So that's why I love today's guest. Now, I want to just give a quick reminder, this is your last chance to get into event mastery. This is your last chance. Today, you can get into event mastery by going to eventmastery.com. I'm going to tell you like the cheat code. The cheat code is enroll in Referral Mastery Academy. If you enroll in Referral Mastery Academy, you get 3 event masteries through the course of the year, which is a $6,000 value, just so you know. How much is RMA? It's less than $100 a month. Come on now. So you can actually get into event mastery by signing up for Referral Mastery Academy. Plus you get all of our masterminds, you get all of our coaching, you get all of our other classes that help you along the way. Go to referralmasteryacademy.com, or if you just want event mastery, go to eventmastery.com. So speaking of event mastery, we're talking to somebody who's had quite a few events and then kind of got into the event mastery class and saw quite the transition happen. Our guest today brings over 18 years of real estate to the table. From administrative roles to human resources manager, her diverse background brings organizational skills and effective negotiation to the table. Originally from Wisconsin, Elizabeth has lived in various places, including Colorado, New Mexico, and Switzerland, because that's so much like Colorado and New Mexico mixed, by the way, before settling in Kent, Washington, where she has been a resident for 20 years. Beyond her real estate career, Elizabeth engages in activities that reflect her vibrant personality. Gardening, hiking, and square dancing are among her passions. But what truly sets Elizabeth apart is her dedication to community service. She actively collaborates with seniors and those facing life challenges, spending over a decade bringing joy to residents in assisted and independent living facilities. From assisting at a local homeless shelter to serving on the leadership committee for Relay for Life, Elizabeth is deeply committed to making a positive impact, which you'll definitely see and hear today. Without further ado, let's welcome to Referrals Podcast, Elizabeth Waloweek. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, for having me on. Totally unexpected. So thank you.
Well, you implemented. And you were saying, like, before, when we were in the green room, you were talking about, I don't know why you're having me on, because it's like, and then you go, this was that's actually a big success for me. Well, this is a big success for anybody. 17 incoming referrals and 15 outgoing referrals is a major league win for most people. And then you add to it probably your biggest community charity drop of an entire SUV filling, you probably fed 100 families, with your food drive. So, but what I want to do before we jump into that is, you have the unique perspective of having run 15 to 20 events over 15 to 17 years beforehand. And I want to talk about those events first, right? So, So talk to us a little bit about, like, what kind of events did you do before?
It was a wide range. Yeah. I had a barbecue at a lakefront. I had an ice cream social. I had a picnic in the park. I had a photo shoot for past clients. So a lot of different kinds of events. I had pie parties, which I know people have great success with pie parties. It was a dismal failure, and to the point that I just stopped doing them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and what did you notice about those events over the years? Like, how did you feel going into them? How did you feel when you were doing them? How did you feel after them? That kind of thing.
I would say I didn't feel very confident that they would produce the results that I wanted, either in terms of attendance, which was really my goal, was to just appreciate my clients and let them know I was thinking about them. Yeah. So it really, none of them fit that bill, because people didn't come. I invited and people didn't come.
Yeah.
Could be hurtful.
Yeah. Yeah. You put all the time and effort into it, and then they're not coming. And sometimes we even take that personally, right? Well, we're not attractive. Well, that's not the answer, right? It's the system. That's the answer. Right. I mean, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but so over those 20 or so events, how many referrals do you think you received from those directly? And you can be approximate.
I have a lot of repeat clients. Do they come directly from those? I think that contributed to it. But in terms of actual referrals to people who weren't already, I would say 0.
Okay. All right. So, and the other thing too is something you shared earlier a little bit is you do the event, then you work on it, and then afterwards you're just flat out exhausted, right? And it's a lot of work for maybe not a lot of return. Let me ask you this: had you partnered with charities before in your events?
No.
Okay. All right. So lots of new stuff for you.
Absolutely.
with event mastery. But here's what's amazing: knowing what I know about you. And then you get into you are the generosity generation. You were living and breathing the generosity generation before I even coined the term. You're helping a lot of people. You're into community service. We're on a leadership position with the Relay for Life. Like, this is your sweet spot. When you saw event mastery and you saw the charity aspect, you had to be going like, why the heck haven't I been doing that before?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And what was funny is it almost like it was almost like from your text message, you were happier about the donations filling the SUV than you were with 17 incoming and 15 outgoing referrals. And it's like, all right, she's my type of girl. Like this is going to work. This is good. So, all right. So what was your event? What event did you do? Now, all right. So 20 events before, 0 referrals, a lot of stress, no attendees. Now we're like, all right, I'm going to give events one more shot. Let's try this Michael Maher's thing, event mastery. And so what did you name your event?
1, 2, 3, go into 2024.
Okay. Love it. All right. So this is kind of an end of the year bash, if you will.
Actually, it was a beginning of the year bash.
Okay. So this
was
is in January
6th.
All right. Love it. 1, 2, 3, go into 2024. Did you think about making it 1, 2, 3, 4, go into 2024? I'm just saying. All right. So January 6th, you had your event. Now, I love that. So you're doing a New Year's party 6 days after the new year starts, essentially. All right. I love that. And what made you come up with 1, 2, 3, go into 2024?
Because the event was at the Hydroplane and Race Boat Museum here in Kent.
Okay. And they say 1, 2, 3, go when they start the races.
Well, and you have part of the invitation and the save the date was a hydroplane on the water taking off.
Love it. Love it. Love the look of that. Love the feel of it. Okay. And it was January 6th. And then you said you had 150 and 50 showed up. Tell us about the invitation sequence. How did you invite people?
I went through my database and I looked at those that I consider my best customers.
Yeah.
And my best clients, and that I have a relationship with, and took the top. I figured I could reasonably expect 75 people, and that was the cutoff for the next cost for the venue was a total of 75 people. So I figured 150 people, and I made those invitations, sent out a save the date, and with some basic information, and then followed that up with phone calls and the invitation later.
Okay. So I want to point something out there that you did really, really well that many people don't, is we don't know all the details. We're not going to send anything out yet. And what you did great was you knew the date. And so you sent out a save the date with imperfect information, knowing that people don't care. They don't care. Like if there's changes that happen, like if it goes from 4 to 6 to 5 to 7, nobody really cares unless you're making that change the same day. But if you change a week earlier or 2 weeks earlier, they don't care, right? So I love it. And then you followed up to save the date with a phone call. This sounds like the event mastery invitation sequence. I like where you're going here. How did you send out the invitation?
I sent it out. The invitation, I actually sent out both ways. I sent it out on paper and I sent it out via email. And the reason for that is when I sent out the save the date, then I could see who didn't get it when it bounced.
That's right.
And so I was doing a lot of updating on those when I was calling afterwards to verify that they had actually received the invitation to save the date, and found some changes. And it really told me that I needed to do both when I sent the actual invitation. Email and in person via mail.
Yeah. How many bounces did you get back out of the first 150 you sent?
Oh gosh. More than I would have than I anticipated. I have to tell you,
Like
I
15 to
probably
20,
got,
25
yeah,
to
I was
30?
going to say at least, I think something like 20.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the people who are listening, Elizabeth is a real estate agent. And when they bounce back, it's a not a good thing. It means that they have moved in a lot of cases. And in this case, that means they probably moved without her. So I just want everybody to know that every one of those was a little dagger to the heart of any professional, right?
But I would say until I called, and then it
Yep.
was just that for whatever reasons they had changed to a different carrier or that kind of thing. None of them had moved, and all of them showed up.
Love it. Love it. That's a beautiful feeling. Sometimes
It
we see
is.
the bounce back and we just give up, and
Right.
and you're right. It a lot sometimes it's error on our part where the address in the system's wrong, or the address we get from the title is wrong, or it goes to their rental property instead of their actual home address. So love that. I love the follow-up phone call to verify and update your records. And then you send out the invitation by mail and email. And did you follow up the invitations with phone calls, or was the phone call after the save the date the only ones?
It was when I hadn't gotten RSVPs from people that I really, really wanted to have come. I was calling to make sure they had it.
Yeah.
If there was a conflict, that kind of thing. But I didn't do a lot of phone calls after the invitation went out.
Okay. If you did more, do you think you would have had more attendees?
I was leaving a lot of, when I was calling, I was ending up leaving a lot of messages and not
Yeah.
getting a response.
Yeah.
So that you may be right. I may have
maybe text messages, instead of the calls. Right. Just
I did do the text messages to everyone who had RSVP'd that they were coming. I did that on the Friday before the event.
Yeah.
And I cannot stress how important that was.
Yeah.
Because it was like, especially when I included in that text message to remember to bring the food donation.
That's right.
And it was a lot of see you there, or thanks for the reminder. Oh, I have to go to the store and get some food. Those kinds of things. So that I think was really an important piece.
Yeah, the confirmation sequence is a game changer. We say the attendance is in the confirmation, but honestly, a lot of the event success is in the confirmation. Like you said, is you reminded them of things to bring, or in some cases, like, hey, remember to bring a friend, or remember to bring canned food, or remember to not bring the kids. This is remember, this is an adult only event. Or whatever, and just remind them so that they have time to get a babysitter. And I have to give a shout out to Susan Swope, who was a meeting planner who I hired for housewarming parties. And when we were first doing housewarming parties, we didn't have time to necessarily do confirmation, all that. We would just do the invites, and then 50% of the people would show up. And then we just threw in that it was her idea, and she had the time to do it. And we did 24-hour and 1-hour confirmations, and our attendance would go up to 90%, 95%, in some cases over 100%. We'd actually have more people show up than we had invited. And it was because of those confirmations. Did you text them and say, remember to bring your checkbook? No, because the event was free to them, right? Right. So let's talk about sponsors. Did you have any sponsors?
I did not have any sponsors, and I did have someone. My lender provided the door prize, which was a gorilla ladder, and so that was really good. But in terms of sponsors, I didn't have anyone. That was partly because I fell right after Thanksgiving, so and broke my ankle. So I've been on a scooter and not able to get around to do anything, to see anyone. So it was, I will do a better job of getting sponsors.
Well, Here's the other thing that had to play a part in this, right? First of all, the ankle thing is a little bit of success suicide, right? It like you were starting to implement this stuff, you were starting to get it, and lo and behold, things happen. It just we just need to remember to pick ourselves up and keep going. If we're a little sick, do what we can, but just keep going through. It's the breakdown before the breakthrough. And man, could you imagine if you broke your ankle and you decided, yeah, forget it, I'm not going to do an event? Well, you wouldn't have had 17 new pieces of business and 15 outgoing referrals. So the other thing that I had to play a part in this is you had to be a little worried because of past event issues on bringing a partner in and then having 5 people show up or something like that. You want them to be a part of a success. You're going to have no problem getting sponsors for your next event.
No.
Yeah. So what was the total cost to you?
It was right around, even with the takeaways and everything, probably about $1,500, $1,400.
Very good.
And realistically, one transaction that comes out of that more than pays for it.
Yep.
And I had a lot of fun besides, and so
There
did
you
my
go.
clients.
Yeah. So fun. And, but I am going to say, I'm your coach. So I'm going to say, we do not justify anything with one transaction. We want these events to be break even or profit centers, right? So, all right. And I'm telling you, 50 people for an event like this, you would have had no problem finding 3 sponsors at 500 apiece. I'm just telling you, the lender would have done that, I think, no matter what, and we'll probably do it. So that leads me to ask, all right, so you had 15 outgoing referrals. So who are those going to?
Some are going to my lender. I have a handyman. Some are going to my HVAC guy. Cleaners. I had a lot of people who were looking for office and home cleaning services, lawn care, and landscaping. So
there's your 5 sponsors for your next event.
Yes.
Yeah, you're already giving them business and they weren't even sponsors. So I love that. I mean, you've got momentum here, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Like momentum. I love this. So what advice do you have for others? Like there's people here who have heard Referrals podcast. They've heard a lot of different strategies, triangle of trust, great retrace, events, but they're thinking about maybe doing event mastery. Like what advice would you have for someone who's thinking about taking event mastery?
Take it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that would be my advice. Take it, because it's very systematic and it's easy to follow, and all of the pieces are just laid out in the binder that you provide, and right down to the follow-up and winding it up and closing it out. And I am really glad that I signed up for that, because not that I didn't maybe know that some of those things would have made a difference. I just never did them. And by having the system and everything right there, it was done.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. Any final words of wisdom? Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I would say that one of the things that was a plus for this particular event was the location and its connection to the community, in that hydroplaning is a big deal around here. And so, maybe choosing an event or a venue that might have a particular appeal could be a plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't necessarily just choose a hotel breakout room or something like that. Choose an interesting venue, especially for your first few events. A ballpark is very interesting. A brewery is very interesting. A bowling alley is very interesting. And with museums, they can be interesting as long as you make it interesting. You have somebody from the museum say a few words. If they can learn a little bit, but also be entertained a lot, then it's going to be a pretty cool deal. So you nailed it. I love it. This was awesome. Elizabeth, kudos and congrats on your implementation and your success. I mean, we're talking 17, pieces of business that are referred, that you don't have to chase down. All you've got to do is follow up and follow through. And then 15 beautiful outgoing referrals for future sponsors who are going to make the future event at least break even, maybe even a profit center. And, but I think I'm as excited as you are about the most exciting piece of this is, 100 families are being helped because of the food donations that you and your community brought up. And I think the most beautiful thing is just your energy. You're lit up. I think you've seen the light a little bit with,
Yes.
I can do this. It can be a success, and we can do a lot of good for the community and add a lot of value to our database. And I just love that and love you, and I appreciate where you're going. And you got to keep us up to date on future events. Can we have you on again down the road?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap on this Referrals podcast episode. But is it a wrap on your implementation? I will tell you, the thing that you need to remember is that we need to have this element of like life in our life. And what I mean by that is, you guys have heard of Britney Spears and Charlie Sheen and these people that got on the downward spiral of life. And a big reason for that is they were number one, right? Number one album, number one show. They quit learning. And we need to realize that if there is a downward spiral of life, there must be an upward spiral of life as well. Well, there is. And the upward spiral of life, it actually is steps, 4 steps, and each of them have a letter on it. And the first letter on the first step is L. And the first step on the upward spiral of life is learn. Learn something. If you learn something today, make sure that you take it in and digest it and so on and so forth. And then you're going to want to take the next step. The next step in the upward spiral of life has an I on it. And guess what? The I is for implementation. Implement. Take what you just learned and put it. Learning without implementation is just entertainment. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not entertaining. I'm not funny, obviously. So the learn, implement, and then the third step might surprise you. It has an F word on it, and it's a 4-letter F word, but it's not maybe the one you're thinking about. It is fail. Guess what? You are going to fail at what you implemented. You're not going to do it perfect. It's not going to be a perfect event. You can always do better. And guess what? It's okay. Fail is an acronym for first attempt in learning, but it's also an acronym for 4th attempt in learning, 50th attempt in learning, and 500th attempt in learning. So fail is a great acronym. And then the next step that you need to take is E, and that is for evaluate. You need to stop and reflect on what you just learned, implemented, and failed at, and say, does it align with my values? Did it feel good? Does this have potential? Do I have momentum? Is there opportunity here? And if there is, you need to take the next step on the upward spiral of life. Ladies and gentlemen, the next step also has an L on it, and that L is for learn. But the thing that's different is now you're learning at a higher level so that you can implement at a higher level. You will then be failing at a higher level, which allows you to evaluate at a higher level, and you get on that upward spiral staircase to heaven, the stairway to heaven. Yep, I dropped it in here, but it is the upward spiral of life. So get on that upward spiral and get into growth mode by taking what you learned today and implementing and realizing that you are going to fail in some capacity and you'll have the opportunity to evaluate it. And that's what I hope you get from today's podcast. And guess what? When you've implemented and you've maybe failed a little bit, let us know about it and we'll get you on Referrals podcast. So Elizabeth, I want to thank you so much for being our guest here today. And for those of you that are out there and you're thinking about event mastery, it's last chance. Go to eventmastery.com. If you don't like that URL, go to funprospecting.com. If you don't like that URL, go to funleadgeneration.com. I don't care where you go. And when you go, take the opportunity to sign up for Referral Mastery Academy. And that will get you 3 event masteries through the year so that you can have a series of events, which makes it even more powerful. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Referrals Podcast.